Yeah, when if you look at the track of Dragon and the International Space Station, how it orbits the Earth around a flat map, it kind of looks like a sine wave. So now they're on a southeastern track that will swing really south of Australia and then come up the Pacific. So you can see once we get into the re-entry phases, it will cross over southern Mexico and the Yucatan Peninsula. And perhaps if you're outside at just the right moment, just a couple minutes prior to that landing site, 12:17 a.m. So if you're still up at midnight watching our coverage and you're in central and northern Florida, be sure to head out, see if you can see, depending on the weather there, see if you can see the plasma trail as Crew-6 re-enters the Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the benefits to a nighttime splashdown. You can still see it during the day, but it is certainly much more striking whenever it's, streaking through the night sky. We've actually had a few nighttime splashdowns prior to this one. So Crew-6 will definitely be a nighttime splashdown, but we also had successful splashdowns at nighttime for Crew-5, Crew-3, Crew-2, and Crew-1.
Dragon, SpaceX, we're back with you. Deorbit sequence start.
SpaceX Dragon, good to have you back, and we see the same.
So that deorbit sequence starts with what's called claw prep, claw separation preparation. So once that claw begins to separate, it's about 45 seconds for that sequence to initiate, and then the trunk separates about 45 seconds after that claw separation. So it's relatively quick. So we're still in claw sep prep.
Once again, the crew will continue to monitor progress of events using the tablets and touchscreens that they have available to them. The touchscreen directly in front of pilot Woody Hoberg and Commander Steve Bowen also allows them to monitor the state of the Dragon flight computer, as well as be able to keep tabs on any thruster burns that occur. Live view there of mission control here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California.
Depending on the weather that you have down there, that you would have been able to see the beginning of the entry interface. We're now about 4 minutes in of a 7-minute blackout period.
This is a great graphic indicating the trajectory. This is an ascending trajectory that Dragon is taking. So as Gary just said, over the Gulf of Mexico, across the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. So if you're tuning in from Central Florida, head outside right now, look up, because this looks like our first live view from the WB-57.
That's right. This is a high altitude aircraft that has thermal imaging, so we're able to get some of those views of the Dragon vehicle in the middle of its entry interface. Again, we're about 4 minutes in. We have a tally-ho on the vehicle from the WB-57. And actually maybe about 5 minutes in at this point. So maybe a little bit more than 2 minutes. Again, there's some variation in the predicted 7-minute time period. It's not exact. We might hear a little early, a little later.
So as we were saying, if you're in Central Florida, head outside right now. You should be able to see this glowing streak cross over as we are targeting. There's that streak I was just mentioning. That's a live view, not thermal. This is heading towards the Atlantic coast of near Jacksonville, Florida. So a beautiful view, very such a striking visual that we have for these nighttime splashdowns.
Recovery teams are in position off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida. And we are still targeting our expected splashdown time of 9:17 p.m. Pacific, 12:17 a.m. Eastern. We only have about a minute and some change of this blackout period anticipated. And again, there's some variation on when we can hear from the crew.
So what you're seeing on your...
Dragon, SpaceX, comm check.
So at this point, we're going to hear SpaceX Core begin to hail. As Gary said, this blackout period is estimated. So we're now beginning to reach out to the crew to see if we've regained that communications capability.
Dragon, SpaceX comm check.
What you're seeing on your screen now is a live view of the thermal cam on the WB-57.
SpaceX Dragon, copy.
And we hear Crew-6 from inside the cabin on the back end of the blackout.
Copy, Dragon. We see a healthy flight computer. Expect automated chute deployment.
SpaceX Dragon, copy.
There's our live view of the crew, our first view of them on the other side of that communications blackout. At this point in time, they are re-entering through the Earth's atmosphere over the coast of Florida, heading towards Jacksonville, Atlantic coast. Up next will be the deployment of the drogue parachutes, which should happen in about 2 minutes, just over 2 minutes.
You can see they got through some of the thicker parts of the atmosphere, and that plasma buildup is starting to dissipate. We have about, less than 2 minutes or so.
Dragon, SpaceX GPS converged. Expect nominal altitude for drogue chute deploy.
SpaceX Dragon, copy.
All right, so that call out just letting the crew know that they can expect to have the initial parachute deployment. That is the drogue parachutes, and that those typically deploy about 18,000 feet. At that point in time, the capsule is going around 350 miles per hour.
Some of the data and telemetry from Dragon is in meters, so if you do hear those calls from the crew and from us, some of the telemetry we're seeing is in the metric system. Confirmation that seat rotation is in progress. This allows the crew to be in the proper position to take the loads of the chutes as they experience the G-forces that the chutes exhibit upon deployment. They provide some drag on the vehicle. And again, we're traveling about 350 miles an hour. So from here, with the drogue deployments and main deployment, we're going to get down to about 15 miles an hour. Drogue deployment coming up in approximately 20 seconds.
Brace for drogue window.
And we're roughly 30 seconds away from that drogue deployment. SpaceX Core just telling the crew to prepare for the deployment of those drogue parachutes. At this point in time, they are around, or when the drogues are deployed, they're traveling around 350 miles per hour. At the time that the main parachutes are deployed, just seconds later, they'll be going around 120 miles per hour. So these drogue parachutes help provide further deceleration as well as stability for the capsule prior to those main parachute deployments.
Drogue pyros have fired, and we have good confirmation of drogue chutes. 2 drogues.
It's a view from inside the parachute bucket.
Dragon, nominal descent rate and recovery team reports a visual on 2 healthy drogues.
SpaceX Dragon, copy. That's good news.
Should see drogue chute jettison here momentarily. We'll see those 2 chutes that you see be released from the capsule, just like so, and release the 4 parachutes, now deploying.
At this point in time, Dragon has saved all of its propulsion systems and is now has already terminated that nitrox suit and cabin purges. Those were helping to keep the crew cool during re-entry. Looks like we have 4 very beautiful and healthy main parachutes.
Dragon, we see a nominal descent rate on 4 healthy mains.
SpaceX Dragon copies and SpaceX Dragon come up on 1,000.
So there's that confirmation.
Copy, 1,000 meters.
confirmation of those 4 healthy chute deployments. Now standing by for splashdown. At the point of splashdown, the capsule will be going about 15 or 16 miles per hour. Continuing to decelerate from a speed of about 120 miles per hour.
800.
So we will now begin.
Copy 800.
To hear Commander Steve Bowen call out the altitude as they approach the water surface.
That is again in meters.
Landing in water is simpler and provides more margin against unlikely parachute issues. We had to learn how to make Dragon waterproof, but once you do that, it's very much a rinse, review, reuse type process.
600.
Copy 600.
600 meters, and the descent rate is as predicted, meaning we're targeting that splashdown time in about a minute.
Live view of Dragon Endeavour with the Crew-6 team members on board, being held up by 4 beautiful main parachutes.
Dragon, we see 400.
We're now about 400 meters above the ocean surface.
SpaceX Dragon 200 braced for splashdown.
Copy, braced for splashdown.
Again, the seats have been rotated in a position to take the loads of re-entry and parachute deployment as well as splashdown. The crew is braced. We are inside 100 meters.
Dragon Endeavour continuing its slow descent. There we can see splashdown on screen. Those parachutes are then cut and released. Dragon Endeavour has now returned home. NASA astronauts Steve Bowen, Woody Hoberg, Sultan Al-Nayati, and Andrei Fedyaev.
SpaceX Dragon splashdown. We are in water rough riding.
Copy splashdown, and we see main chutes cut.
After a 17-hour return journey from space, Crew-6 is home.
So the teams have been ready and waiting about 3 nautical miles away, so it's going to take them about 30 minutes to make their way to Steve, Woody, Sultan, and Andre inside the Dragon. You can see the recovery forces in some of the views that you're seeing. Of course, these views being provided by the recovery vessels. You saw there was a helo deployed, providing some visuals and lighting of the Dragon capsule.
Stable 1.
Copy, Stable 1. Dragon Endeavour, on behalf of NASA and SpaceX, welcome back home. Thank you for flying SpaceX.
Thanks, SpaceX Endeavour. We greatly appreciate all the support from all the initial training through the launch, throughout the mission, keeping us abreast of all the status of the vehicle, and all the support all the way down. This has been incredible. Greatly appreciate it, and look forward to working with you all again.
Copy all, and you've got a room full of happy people here. We've got some systems to verify safe before we give the boats a go to approach. I'll be back with you on that topic in a minute.
SpaceX Dragon copies. We'll just enjoy the wallowing here. It might be soothing. We may all be napping soon.
So there we just heard SpaceX Core just indicating to the crew that we're going to do some checks here. Here from Mission Control Hawthorne, we're going to do some system checks to make sure that everything is safe as necessary on the Dragon Endeavour capsule. They will then give the go for safe approach to the teams there that you see on your screen in the fast boats. One of those boats will focus on recovering the parachutes from the water. The other will begin inspections, a sniff test for those onboard propellants, nitrogen tetroxide and monomethylhydrazine. They are toxic if someone were to breathe them, so we definitely want to ensure the safety of the entire recovery team as well as the crew. So one of the teams in the fast boats will perform a sniff test using devices while wearing personal protective equipment to ensure that none of those propellants have leaked out and that there's no vapors lingering from, just many minutes ago when those thrusters were actually firing back in space.
Precisely. Now this is the 4th splashdown of Dragon Endeavour and completes the 4th mission, Crew-6, splashing down right on time, 12:17 a.m. Eastern Time, 9:17 p.m. Pacific Time. We're getting views from the recovery vessels that are out many nautical miles away from the coast of Jacksonville, Florida. And the crew and teams here in Hawthorne reported a stable 1 position. That just notifies that the capsule is in the ideal position, floating in the Atlantic Ocean there, upright, with the heat shield in the water and the nose cone pointed towards the sky, as you see there.